One of the advantages of being able to speak here is you get to take your mask off. My wife is now jealous, I'm sure, but that's okay. Before I get going, I'm going to open up with reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 9, beginning verse 1. I'm going to use that as the scripture I'm going to go back to. So, Ecclesiastes chapter 9. You're thinking, missions in Ecclesiastes. It's okay. Work with me. We'll see how it goes. Ecclesiastes chapter 9, beginning verse 1. For all this I considered in my heart, even to declare all this, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hand of God. No man knoweth either love or hatred by all that is before them. All things come alike to all. There is one event for the righteous and to the wicked, to the good and to the clean and to the unclean, to him that sacrificeth and to him that sacrificeth not. As is the good, so is the sinner, and he that sweareth, as he that sweareth an oath. No, that feareth an oath. Correction. This is an evil among all things that are done under the sun, that there is one event unto all. Yea, also the heart of the sons of men is full of evil, and madness is in their heart while they live, and after that they go to the dead. For to him that is joined to all the living there is hope. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything, neither have they any more a reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Classic missions passage, I'm sure you've heard this before. Probably not. Okay. Now, before I get going, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Now, you've heard some about 6 weeks ago when we did the church membership. I'm Brian Palmer, married to Ivy, who you know as the Easter egg, Easter rock organizer, the logistical support for Easter in Ohana. I have 2 sons. One, Nathaniel, is off at Liberty, and Mike plays violin later this morning. And I'm a chaplain in the United States Army. U.S. Army chaplain, which I like. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself before I became a chaplain. I was in the Army before I became a chaplain. Not the U.S. Army. I'm a foreigner. I'm one of them. I was a Canadian. Oh, yeah. Go hockey, any team, it doesn't matter, eh? I was a Canadian soldier. I was an infantryman. And during my time in the Army, I became interested in things of God. But my chaplain was less than useful. Much less than useful. Didn't help me with anything I needed to know. I mean, really, he didn't. It was pitiful. I had to study on my own. To have a grasp of what was what in the Bible. Now, I joined the Army young. Really, really young. 16. So I'm a high school dropout. Yeah, don't do that, kids. Stay in, do it the right way. Trust me, it's so much easier. So much easier. I ended up having to graduate high school like age 23. It was horrible. Night school, oh yeah. Horrible, horrible. But as a Canadian soldier, I realized the need for God in my life. I came across a few events that caused me to believe that God existed, but I was getting no help. No help. So, I got a calling on my life. My calling was to be a chaplain. Now, I assumed I was going to be a chaplain in the Canadian Army, or maybe the British or Australian Army. But alas, no. I was caught and captured by North Carolina Redhead, and I'm in the U.S. Army. Happily caught and captured, to be sure. Quite happily. Really happy, honey. Now, in order to be a chaplain, I have to be aligned with an organization. Denominations most most church groups grow up, but we don't have a denomination, we have a fellowship. So I became aligned with the FBFI, Fundamental Baptist Fellowship International. Now it's Foundations Baptist Fellowship International. They interviewed me, they interviewed my wife, they interviewed me again, and they nominated me to the Army as one who is willing and worthy to represent their denomination, the fundamentalists. The Army goes, yep, we got an opening, we need someone like him, let's put him in. So they had my packet go before the board. 9/11 came, my packet got blown up, I redid some of my packet, and I was accepted into the Army as an Army chaplain. Now, I have a sending church that first nominated me to FBFI, Friendship Baptist in Raleigh, North Carolina. Bob Brandenburg, the pastor. He was also a missionary down in the Caymans. Great guy. I work under the guidance of that pastor as a fundamental Baptist. So the people I baptize because they have authorized me to do it. So they check up on me, make sure I'm doing okay. The Fundamental Baptist Fellowship International checks up on me, make sure I'm doing okay, and make sure my life is just not being torn apart by the Army. Because, yes, just because. So that's how you become an Army chaplain. Easy, 2-year process. Plus seminary, and now I should mention I also have a bachelor's degree, so I'm not still a high school dropout. Then I went to seminary, I have a master's degree. So I'm a high school dropout with a master's degree. I think I'm doing okay. So I'm in the Army now. I'm an Army chaplain. I'm grateful for the calling because I just love soldiers. I love soldiers. They are my people. Now I'm probably standing in a room filled with Air Force and Navy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. You can smell the grease. Just joking, just joking. All part of the fun, being in the military. So I love, well, I mean, I've even been assigned to the MEF, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force. So I had Marines. I had a Marine battalion as well. I had an infantry, artillery battalion and a Marine battalion of ad hoc companies, because that's what happens in the military. You kind of do everything. And I love soldiers. And I see myself a missionary to the military, because that is what I do. I bring soldiers to God and God to soldiers, because it's so important. But there's a technique for it. Now, I like Ohana because they reach out to the military. I mean, I look around, I see familiar faces. Not people I actually know, but the same type of people I've known my entire life. We recognize each other. It's just a thing, which is important. Now, I brought out the book of Ecclesiastes for a reason, because I think it's important for us to understand our role in the world. And I'm going to use my life as an Army chaplain to show you how I believe that's true. It starts off, for I considered in my heart, even to declare all this, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hand of God. All that we do is in the hand of God. None of it's our own. Amen. No man knoweth either love or hatred by all that is before them. We just cannot look at the world and understand it. We can't understand love or hatred in the world. We need God guiding and directing us to understand love, because we always get it wrong. We always do. If we got it right, there'd be a lot fewer wars, a lot more peace. But we never get it right, do we? We just don't. Now here's where it gets interesting. Verse 2, all things come alike to all. There is one event to the righteous and to the wicked, to the good and to the clean, and to the unclean, to him that sacrifices and to him that sacrifices not. As is the good, so is the sinner. And he that sweareth, as to he that feareth an oath. So what is this telling us? It's telling us that everything that happens to those who believe and those who don't believe. Soon I'm going to have to put some gas in my car. It's going to cost me, what, $250,000 this week? Okay, maybe not that much. I exaggerate a bit, but not much. I don't get the special Christian price on gasoline. I pay what everyone else pays, same as you. I don't have some, the clouds don't stop over my house. When it's raining on my neighbors, it's raining on me. Now, I got it. On this island, it could be raining there and not raining here. I understand that, but it's just a matter of where you live. The point is that we share what happens with those around us. We are not separate from them. We share their experiences. And this is key to being an Army chaplain. It's also key to being a Christian and being a missionary where you are. It's incredibly key because we understand what's going on. We understand what's going on. Now, who's the best person to reach a longshoreman? Probably another longshoreman. Who's the best person to reach a pipe fitter? Probably a pipe fitter. Who's the best person to reach a sailor? Probably a sailor, because they can speak sailor or speak Navy. I don't know what the correct terminology is for their language, but it's not English. All acronyms. Same as the Army. I speak Army. I speak it quite well. I speak it in several forces. I speak British Army, I speak Canadian Army, and I speak US Army. Fluent in all three. Fluent in all three. We have our own language, we have our own experiences. I am better suited to reach soldiers than others. Now, that doesn't mean you don't try and reach them. Not at all. But I understand them because I live with them, because I go to war with them, because I deploy with them, because I come back with them, because I share the same heat and mud and rain and conditions with them. And it's uncomfortable but good. I mean, even the simple things. When we have group PT, which COVID squashed, I show up with them at 6:15 to do push-ups and pull-ups and running and all those things. And I don't do as well as them. I got that. I'm old. But the fact that I'm there enables them to talk to me because they see that I'm really one of them. We have to be real with the people we're at. I'm carrying on though, and here's where it gets tricky. This is an evil among all things that are done under the sun. There is one event unto all. Yea, also the heart of the sons of men is full of evil, and madness is in their heart, while they live, and after that they go to the dead. Okay, so what it's telling us, it's crazy that we have to live the same life as the unrighteous, that the same things that happen to the unrighteous happen to us. But the truth is that all men's hearts are evil. And there's a lot of evil out there. All right. What kind of people join the military? It's a legitimate question. Why do people join the military? What kind of people do we have? Well, we got all kinds of people. We have Christians, we have Jewish, we have Muslims, we have unbelievers, we have those that have their own particular political agendas join the military. And why do people join? Some have always wanted to be soldiers or sailors or airmen or Marines or Coast Guardsmen. I've always wanted to be a soldier, a policeman, or a firefighter. In the military, I've got to be all three. Well done. I like that. But we all have a reason why we joined. Some people joined because they just wanted college money. Some people joined for the benefits. Some people joined, well, they don't really know why. Familiar with the prodigal son from Luke, right? Luke chapter 15. The son gets his inheritance, goes out, lives a riotous life, runs out of money, because when you live in a riotous life, you run out of money. Ends up working in the pig troughs, good Jewish kid, working in the pig troughs, realized it's better off if he goes back to Dad. In the farm, he can work as a laborer with Dad. So he returns home. Now we know the allegory of, coming to Christ and the Old Testament versus the old believers versus the Old Covenant versus the New Covenant. But that's also a story about real life, because we have prodigals. Now the ones that return home to retake their righteous life, they come back to places like this. Pastor Surface, Pastor Wayne deals with them. You deal with them. You may be one of them yourself. You've returned to the life of faith that your family knew. There's the other unpublished prodigal son story. Same thing, leave home, all the benefits they're given as youth. They go off, they live a riotous life, they run out of money, they run out of hope, they run out of everything. They're sitting there going, what am I going to do? I got nothing in life. I'm no one. Have no hope. I'm lost. I'll join the Army or Navy. And they do. These people who come from reasonably good backgrounds now join the military. And you think I joke. I was a basic training chaplain. I had a service of about 700 soldiers. And I did the story of the prodigal son. I preached on the prodigal son. And I said, some of you in this audience may be prodigals. Of that 700, there are about 300 shaking their head going, mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, what can of worms have I opened? Frequently, when Ivy and I were holding services, we had people come up to us telling us how they hadn't gone to church for 1, 2, 3, 5 years. They're sons or daughters of pastors or missionaries. And they haven't been to church for forever. This is the first time they've been to service in, name whatever time it was. We have a lot of prodigals, people who have run away from the church. And they ended up in the military. But they still need to be reached. Now, this hopefully will give you hope. If you have a son or daughter that, kind of went a little bit astray and ended up in the military, hopefully they meet up with someone like me. Hopefully. But there's a big lesson here. Big lesson for us. We have to look out for our kids. Make sure they understand the message and not drive them away, which is important. But also pray for them that wherever they are, God is with them. God is with them. So we have all these folks joining the military, all types. And what do they witness? All kinds of evil. All kinds of evil. Evil exists. And many in the military get to see evil in its raw and concentrated form, just because of what we do. Now, evil changes people. Being in contact with evil changes people. All lives are changed by evil. When you're in contact with evil, when you're confronting evil, you come in contact with it, your life changes forever. Because of just sheer proximity and what you're exposed to. And that can be good or bad. It can push you one way or the other. Now, it's good for some because they're able to deal with evil in their own lives and see what they could have been capable of. It's bad for others who've never had a look at evil and don't understand what's going on. For me, because I was with them in all circumstances, good and bad, I was able to talk to them. I, as a battalion chaplain, I've deployed twice as a battalion chaplain, was able to talk to everyone in my unit, about 650 soldiers, individually. And they all gave me a fair hearing about the gospel and about the hope we have in Christ. They all gave me a fair hearing. They didn't all follow, and they didn't all turn to the Lord, but they all gave me a fair hearing, and I can ask for nothing better than them because I was with them. Now, we're not all Army chaplains. We all have our own lives. But we have the same experiences with the people that are working beside us. And we can also share how God has gotten us through it. The advantage of being a Christian around evil is that you have a God of hope and peace that will get you through it. The great God that you know where your eternity lies. And you know your place in that eternity with Christ. And you get to share that in a place that has no hope, in a place filled with hopelessness. And where are the places filled with hopelessness? They're every place that does not have Christ. Every place that does not have Christ. Now, are you going to be successful? All the time. There was a young soldier who came into my office, and he was in Ramadi, Iraq. Good kid. Big cheesy grin. Nice guy. Nice family. We're talking about things of faith. I remember him reaching up onto the wall and going, Chaplain, I hear what you're saying, but it's not for me, at least not now. And the next day he was blown up. And you're not always going to be successful. But with the people around you, you owe them the effort. Now, I'm not going to just tell you that horrible story so you go home and think horrible thoughts. A couple of war stories always make life more interesting. I was having chow, eating my meal, once again in Ramadi, where all fun things happened. And a medic came running through the DFAC, the mess tent, looking for a chaplain. And we had it spread out so if a bomb hit, we wouldn't kill everyone. And he finally saw me. He goes, I need a chaplain. Is there a chaplain here? He goes, chaplain. Comes running up. He goes, chaplain, there's a guy who's been wounded. He's not going to live. He needs to see a chaplain. So I dropped my food, went off with him, and I was told the same, same story by several people. Don't know why he's still alive. Wants to see a chaplain. The medic told me, the other medic told me, the charge nurse told me, the doctor told me, and he's just so wounded there's nothing he could do. So I go up to him, he's barely conscious, and nobody knows why. He goes, I want you to write to my mom, tell her I got saved, so she won't worry. So I did. Took down what he wanted to say, wrote the note, wrote it up better, and sent it off to his mother. Held his hand, kissed him on the forehead, prayed for him, held his hand, and he died. And he is with God right now. He is with God right now, and his mother is comforted that she knows that he is up there waiting for him, which is great. See, the threat of death often reminds us of the need for God. And it's not a bad thing always. I'm going to carry on for a couple of verses. For to him that is joined to all the living there is hope. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know that they shall die. For the living know that they shall die. All of us do. All of us do. Now, it's a great life being a chaplain. It's a terrible life as well, because you deal with terrible things and terrible times. But I'm thrilled that God has chosen me to do it. Now, there's various attacks you receive as a chaplain. I mean, I told you, everyone joins the military. Even those who don't like God join the military. And the military is politically monitored to appease all different groups. We are. It's an unpleasant thing. The times are changing. I used to be, as a chaplain, chaplains were always well thought of because we're a good centerpiece of society. But like churches often face struggles and face attacks, so do chaplains. But from Jeremiah 17, don't have to go there, I'm just going to read it out. Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and those whose heart departeth from the Lord. For he shall be like heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land and not inhabited. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and she shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither cease from yielding fruit. I hold that as a hope, that my faith, doing the right thing in the Lord, will keep me secure. My aim is to be a man of faith amongst people of varying faiths, to tell them my faith, to bring them the hope in Christ. I work with commanders and sergeant majors. I work with privates, lieutenants, even warrant officers, to show them the hope in Christ. And I don't do this work on my own. When I was in Iraq, we were located in about 10 different locations. So I helped young soldiers who wanted to study the Bible and invite their soldiers at these OPs to study with them. And they did. They had little Bible studies. They had a collection of about 7 different Bible studies throughout Iraq. I got the opportunity to hold services for soldiers. My first service I went to, I had to fly in a helicopter and we were shot at. I had to determine, is the message I'm holding worth dying for or not? I determined it was. Now, I'm not going to rush that event, but I determined it was worth dying for. The hope I bring to soldiers is worth dying for. The Christ you have in your heart, you're able to tell others, is worth dying for. Don't rush it, but it's an important message. It's an important message. Many chaplains left when the war first started because they realized their message wasn't worth dying for. And that's okay. Made room for me. Now, yeah. I would be wrong if I did not tell you that we have a military that's hurting and they need help. We have commanders and sergeant majors willing to help them, but we also need churches to help them. You are missionaries to the military. Why? Because you live near my island nation of Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam. It is an island nation. We have our own laws. We have our own entrance. You got to show your passport at the, well, not really passport, but you got to show ID to get on. We are our own people. But we have to reach out to them. You have to reach out to them. You have to reach out to the people that you work with. Same as I do. Because that is what God has called us to. Now, is anyone going to make a movie about you? There are a lot of war movies out there, a lot of military movies, but there are no chaplain movies. I mean, despite the names, Decision at Dawn is not about chaplains. The Enemy Below is not about chaplains. Neither is Saving Private Ryan. You would think so, but it's not. Most of us get to go through life fairly anonymously, doing the right thing for the Lord. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Because most of us are called to do that, and that is fine. There's nothing unheroic about that. It's a great thing to go about our lives doing the right thing for the Lord, with our neighbors, with our friends, with young service members we have, day in, day out. Because they need it. Now, word of caution, and I'm going to close with this. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, they see things that they don't want to tell you about. Because they just don't. Because they don't want to cry, as you saw me doing. They don't want to scare you, because they will tell you things that you just cannot imagine are true. So don't force them to. Be with them. Tell them about Jesus. Love them, because they need to hear about Jesus and they need to be loved. And welcome them into your community, knowing that there's a little bit of them that they will hold back because you weren't there when all the things that happen to people happen to them. And you weren't there when the evil showed up. It was raw. And it's unfair, but it's a reality we all have to live with. And it's a good thing. So, I love being in the Army. Always have had. I hate being in the Army some days too, but we all do. The souls of my soldiers are precious. The souls of the people you work with are precious, equally precious. I can't reach those people. I'm counting on you to do that. I'm counting on you to welcome the soldiers that I come to the Lord and enter here. I can even welcome the sailors and airmen as well, that come to the Lord and enter here. Welcome them as Ohana, as family, because they need that.